Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Look Back. As I hinted at the last Look Back, in which was Johnny Cage vs. Fei Long, we are taking a look back at my Xbox turning on for one, but for two, an episode that, by all standards, apparently has not aged well, and I tend to agree, but not for the reason people think. Frank West versus Negan. So, what makes this episode so special? Well, besides the dislike ratio on this episode at this point in time, this was the first battle mode to try voice acting, and it was the 10th ever episode. So that was pretty cool. Why don't we actually get a look into the episode, and I'll point out what I don't like and what I do like. And then we'll talk about the episode as a whole. So this episode was once again animated by Duo Dreamer. The background and the setting was nice. It kind of reminds me of Raccoon City. I'm pretty sure the zombie also has a voice acting. So you couldn't really hear it that much though. There it is. Not a bad zombie voice. And this is Negan up here. I gotta check the description to see who voiced Negan once he talks, but I know the guy who voiced Frank West. Flash photography. Where are your pupils?
Well, it's pretty rude to take someone's picture without permission.
Oh god, there it is. This is why I hate this episode. It's not the animation, it's the voice acting. It was awful. Look, I hate to be a downer, okay? But this is why I hated this episode. Not the animation. I thought the animation was fine, all things considered. In fact, at the time, when I first watched this episode, the only issue I had was when Frank West went to the Mega Man suit, he looked kind of fat. But the voice acting was so bad! Oh! I appreciate these guys for trying. Look, at first I didn't want to give the voice actor for Negan that much of a hard time, okay? Because I wasn't that familiar with Negan. But then I thought it wouldn't have been fair. So, Negan's voice actor was by the name of RedWolf / TankDaddy. And I don't think that was a good choice. See, I was watching a Negan Best Moments just to get an idea of what he sounds like. He definitely sounds deep and gravelly, for sure, but with a little humor. In fact, we replay this.
You know, it's pretty rude to take someone's picture without permission.
Yeah, that voice is not saying Negan to me. It's definitely deep, which is nice, but not as gravelly. It's not really that great. I appreciate you for trying. I really do. But it just wasn't the best. And then let's move on to Frank West. A character, while he has had multiple voice actors, he's had a consistent voice actor in the main Dead Rising series. And of course, the Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. So why don't we listen to Frank West's voice actor?
Hey, since when did I need permission to take a photo of a psychopath and a wiffle ball bat?
Okay, listen. This was by NidgeDFX. When comparing the two, honestly, I think Nidge did. At first, my mind wanted to tell me that Nidge was the worst at this, but looking back on it, he actually did pretty okay. Comparing the two voices, yeah, it doesn't really quite speak Frank West really to me. Yeah, let's play it again.
Did I need permission to take a photo of a psychopath and a wiffle ball bat?
But I definitely think Nidge is capturing that little bit of humor that Frank West does have, which is pretty neat. So while not the best, it's originally better than what I thought it was. But this was my main problem with this episode. The voice acting, for its first ever time, was terrible. Absolutely terrible. Another thing, I'm going to talk about the episode while the fight's going on. Another thing that I feel like was definitely not the best thing for Duo to do was he put this episode around the same time as Frank West versus Leon Kennedy. I don't think that was that great because this came, I want to say this was after Leon versus Frank. And it was basically spoilers for that death battle and this episode. Frank West lost 2 times in a row. And that definitely left a salty taste in people's mouth. But again, the animation's not bad. You can definitely feel the impact of some of these hits, for sure. As well as the visual effects and the uniqueness that was how you used Frank West, especially. So I don't think the animation itself was that bad, in all honesty. I definitely think it's decent. Again, there's the Mega Man stuff that just... I thought made Frank look a little bit fat, but, you know, it happens. And the main thing was the voice acting and a lot of pro timing. I definitely don't think this episode is one of Duo's best works ever. But I will admit, it's better than I thought it was. Especially this. Ooh, ay. Is that all? Yeah, I bet there's like talking going on. But that ending, that wasn't great. I definitely think the ending could have been better. I would have definitely did something similar to what I think it was Harley Quinn did for that. Whereas you can get a cinematic... I know this was back before Duo did advanced stuff, but if I were to say anything about like him wanting to remaster this, Harley Quinn's end of her super has her running towards the character. So I would have done it from Frank's perspective, looked up at Negan and then just hit him, and then have Negan hit it. I think that would have been a better ending than all that black while he was talking, which lasted about 10 seconds or so. Or I would have just seen like a shot of Negan giving that monologue. Let's just take a look at these damn thumbnails and then just summarize it. Because this was season 1 templates, by the way. That's why it looks different. Some of these were actually pretty good, all things considered. Some of them still make thumbnails to this day for current episodes of Battle Mode. Yang with an actually decent one. I think this was before Yang started making hilarious ones, to be honest. But so in conclusion, what did I think of this episode? Looking back on it, I initially, based off everything I was hearing about this episode, I'm like, oh great, I'm gonna have a terrible time watching this. And I didn't have that much of a time. You can definitely see the impact of the hits. I definitely think the animation itself was not that bad. The voice acting itself, I'm sorry guys, you tried, but it just wasn't the best way to introduce voice acting. I feel like if this was a different episode of Battle Mode, right, to introduce voice acting, it would have made a better impression. Because if I were to watch this with my impressions back then, I would say to never bring back voice acting because it was that bad. And the thing is, first impressions matter. Since it's been episodes later and we've definitely seen better voice acting, it's nice to get a fresh perspective. But if I were to say, like, this was the episode where they wanted to introduce voice acting at any other point besides very early on, I would say no more voice acting. I don't trust it. I don't trust Duo picking the voice actors. But considering we got better voice acting in a later episode of Rorschach versus Darkman, I want to say, I definitely think that seeing that and comparing it to this, it wasn't that bad of an idea to try it. And again, they definitely got the personality with Frank West, the Nidge, but Nidge talking as Frank West did not remind me of Frank West at all. He got the personality, but not the actual voice. Same with Red Hawk. He got the deepness, but I just didn't hear Negan. I really didn't. So, if you're wondering why I'm so hard on the voice actors, I think a part of it is because I was a theater kid. slash acting kid in high school. I took it for about 3 to 4 years, so I know some basic stuff. Like, one of the things I would say, if these guys were to ever voice act again for a certain character, is do something that I thought Nidge did pretty well. Get the personality right for the character, first and foremost. You want to capture the personality of that character. I don't know how much time Duo gave these guys initially when they wanted to do voice acting. So I think if they had a little bit more time, they could definitely get the personality better. But for what it was, Nidge got the personality right. It's just that his voice does not remind me of Frank West at all. RedWolf? I keep butchering your name. I'm sorry. What is it? RedWolf. Also, Ridge. He just made noises as he was trying to wake up for the zombie, from what I heard. So, nice. So, that's what I would say to RedWolf, is to capture Negan's personality. Again, the voice was just very deep. I don't know if that was filtered afterwards or beforehand, but I just didn't think that was good. This was interesting to look back at, because I think the animation, you know, a lot of people's problems with this episode nowadays, especially Duo, was like, he felt like the animation was lackluster. But looking back on it, it actually wasn't that bad as I initially thought. It's just the voice acting. It's what kills this episode. I think if it had, well, first of all, Frank won, I think a lot of people would like this episode more. But I think if the voice actor for Negan was different, I think it could have been better. I would have been okay with Nidge voicing Frank West, regardless of who Negan was, and Negan's voice actor was about decent. Because the main thing you want to get for these characters is personality. Are you going to sound exactly like a character did years ago? More than likely not, if it's your first ever time voice acting. You want to make a great first impression, and personality definitely helps. Well, that's this episode of Look Back. Honestly, I expected to have a worse time, but I didn't, actually. I had a better time than I expected. And there are definitely some other episodes that I want to take a look back on as well, coming up later. We are going to go back and watch one of my first ever favorites. This was my all-time favorite before another episode, which was also in season 1. And of course, we are going to be taking a look back on Yang the Insane's first animation. But that won't happen until we watch what I considered my favorite episode for a long time. So Yang, I highly doubt you're watching this at this point, but get ready for me to take a look back on Tex vs. Yang. That's going to be a wild ride. Until then, what do you guys think of this episode? Let me know down below. We can talk about it. I will see you all later.